Hello and welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you could join us for today's webinar, Delivering Strategic Value from Accounts Payable. I'm Haley, and I'm part of the marketing team here at MHC, and I'll be facilitating today's discussion. Our speaker today is Ernie Humphrey, who I'll introduce shortly. But first, I'd like to quickly go over just a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, and attendees will receive a follow-up email with the link to the recording on our website. All participants are muted to prevent background noise, so please type any questions that you may have into the chat, and we will get back to you. There will be a post-webinar survey that will appear when the webinar ends, so please use the survey to let us know how we're doing and to request any additional information so an MHC resource can follow up with you. We really appreciate your feedback on these webinars. And our speaker for today is Ernie Humphrey, CEO of 360 Thought Leadership and Treasury Webinars. So with that, let's hear from Ernie about delivering strategic value from accounts payable.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Haley, and thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time to join us for our webinar today. As Haley mentioned, my name is Ernie Humphrey. I'm the CEO and founder of Treasury Webinars. I've been in the finance, treasury, and AP space for many years. I've been talking about the strategic value of accounts payable for a lot, probably especially for the last 5 or 6 years. It's still an exciting time to be in accounts payable. When I was in Treasury, it was certainly a back office function, but it continues to transform into a more strategic function. And it seems like a lot has happened. COVID, right, has happened. And then we had supply chain disruptions. And now we have some interesting tariff policies and geopolitical uncertainty. So all that has really given AP to have a seat at the strategic table, especially in today's world. Aligning AP with procurement and treasury is incredibly important. My wife happens to work in procurement, and she has shared with me a few stories. So it's really important that your company has good relationships with your suppliers, so you know when you're going to be getting your products, but also that you can communicate with them when you're going to be paying them. You might have to pay them right in a delayed manner. So those relationships are more important than ever. A little bit about our agenda for today, our journey. So first, we're going to start off. We're talking about strategic accounts payable. So let's set the stage. We'll talk about what strategic AP looks like, not only today, but going forward. So no matter where technology takes us, I should say, where we allow technology to take us, we need to be focused on what strategic AP is. We're going to do a little bit of a survey results review. We're going to talk about AP in 2025, the lay of the land. And that's going to give us, just kind of set the stage for some obstacles and opportunities, right, for us to deliver more value. We're going to talk about the dynamics of AP success. We'll talk about the payments dance with suppliers. So we absolutely want to be efficient, right, in our AP operations. On the more strategic side, we need to take control and work with Treasury and procurement to take control of when and how we make payments. It's incredibly valuable to our bottom line to do so. We're going to talk about some resources to deliver strategic value from AP, what we're seeing in survey results, and things that you should be considering. And then we're going to talk about the role of technology in AP success. And we're going to wrap things up with some recommendations, some action items you'll be able to use immediately following the webinar here today. One goal of the webinar is to get you to take an action after the webinar is over. That might just be a conversation with a colleague. Maybe you go to the MHC website, get more information. Maybe you ask a question. Maybe you go on LinkedIn. Maybe you connect with me. So success looks like for me as a speaker is to motivate you to take an action, think and take an action. So hopefully we're going to accomplish that for every single person on the webinar today. So what does strategic AP look like? We need to have visibility into all P2P related process. It's absolutely critical. It's kind of common sense, but I've done a lot of survey on this. There are an awful lot of bottlenecks, right, in our P2P process. A lot of times we have siloed information processes that compete with each other. We have multiple parties trying to communicate with folks in the P2P process. So we have collaboration barriers internally as well as externally. So we have silos within AP, within our organization, but we also have silos with our suppliers. And visibility or lack of visibility is actually a cause of a lot of issues with our suppliers. So once we remove asymmetries of information internally and with our suppliers, we start to see efficiency, and that also impacts the relationship that we have and gives us more control over how and when we make payments. So, just along the same lines, again, communication is key. We need to invest in supplier relationships. So, everyone that communicates with suppliers should have the same information. We want to make sure that procurement and those in AP have visibility into communications with our suppliers. And then what we need for strategic AP is have the right dashboards with key metrics. So, a lot of times, what I've seen is I see companies delivering the same dashboards and the same reports to each and every person. And you really need to look at the consumers of information. So look at what informations impact the performance of your AP specialist, your AP manager, right? Maybe your controller, your CFO, your treasury colleagues, and procurement. Getting people the information that they need at the right time is an absolute game changer. And also, if you are providing the wrong information up the chain to the controller, the CFO, they're going to come back and start asking you questions that are not going to be a good use of your time or their time. So we should look at, okay, who are we sending reports to and why? And then ask them, is there information that we could be sending you that is going to make you more efficient? And then we want to have AP collaborate with Treasury to understand the value of optimizing payment types and timing. And also, very important to deliver predictability to AP so we can help manage our working capital. So a lot of times it's part of it's in the company culture, but there absolutely is a cost of payments that is very different across payment types. So checks are absolutely the most expensive way to make payments. And I know there's a lot of inertia in terms of, I've got reasons why people make payments. We'll talk about those a little later. There's a lot of inertia, but checks are definitely an inefficient way to make payments. And a lot of times, some people will tell you, hey, let's get everybody on a ghost card and get a rebate. Well, that's not necessarily the right strategy. The right strategy is to work with your suppliers. So maybe you get them from a check to an ACH. It's amazing how much cost savings that is. And also in terms of the timing. So we should be looking at if we're taking discounts or not, why we are and why we're not. And there's a cost, right, to when we send money out. We need to work with Treasury in order to do that. So there's a lot of the strategic value right there, right, in terms of payment type, but also payment timing, right? We want to optimize the use of our cash. Again, especially in today's world in 2025, there's a lot of dynamics going on. So we might not really know all, as well as we used to, right, when we are getting paid. So we really need to be strategic, make data-driven decisions regarding payments that are going out the door. And there's a lot of dynamics behind that, including if you're doing business in foreign currencies, that misalignment of exposures is can be more painful than ever, also given the volatility in the FX markets that we're seeing as well. So what it looks like for internal collaboration, again, I just went over that. So what about collaboration with suppliers? So part of the times we need to incentivize that collaboration. So in being a real partner relationship with the suppliers, really there's a communication that can help. More efficient AP processing means more efficient AR processing for your suppliers. So there is an incentive for them to possibly move to another type of payment, a different timing. On the efficiency side, if you are able to provide remittance information, right, to your suppliers in an effective manner, maybe you can do that more easily. In today's environment with a wire or some sort of a FTP site, that's incredibly valuable to your suppliers. So maybe that's communicated up the chain. But in terms of that supplier relationship, it's about their company. So better AP on our side means better AR and lower costs and a bottom line impact for our suppliers. And we want to invest in understanding the AR challenges of our suppliers. I just kind of touched on that a little bit. So we should be working with them to get them the information that they need to cash. So to apply that cash. So the better information that we can provide to them, the better business partner we are, and the better relationship that we have. So the relationship with our suppliers, it goes up and down, right? Everyone that communicates with our supplier, so it's better for our company. So there's a lot more phone calls going on, maybe from procurement, maybe from your operations team, going to your suppliers. So if we have a good relationship with our suppliers, they're going to have an incentive to pick up that phone, take that phone call, and really give us the true story of what we can expect if there's any supply chain disruptions that might be out of their control. Again, it helps to communicate the benefits of electronification of information exchange. So accepting this type of payment is going to be beneficial to your company. And then, if possible, depending on your opportunity cost of cash, you should look to identify opportunities for early discount opportunities. Because as I mentioned, there's a lot of economic volatility. So if your company is one that's not being as impacted as much as others, there may be an incentive, right, for your suppliers to want to be paid early to offer improved working capital management on their side. So it's really looking at it as a relationship, and we want to remove the friction, right, of being a supplier with our company, and in investing in those relationships. We are efficient in our own operations, but we also take more control of the type of payments that we have, which are more cost effective, and then when those payments take place, and that really impacts our bottom line through improved working capital management. So let's take a step back and kind of look at the lay of the land. So let's take a look at the lay of the land, and then how certain resources can help us navigate the obstacles and turn those into opportunities, really deliver competitive advantage, because AP done right can actually be a competitive advantage, especially in today's environment. So let's take a look at the AP lay of the land. The survey results come from a survey that I conducted myself, Treasury webinars. So if you're interested in receiving a copy of the survey report, please, you can go ahead and reach out to myself or reach out to my colleagues at MHC, and we'll get you a copy of the survey report. So I wanted to see, right, what is the lay of the land going into 2025, and what are we seeing in the next three to 6 months, and what do I think we're going to see going forward? So we see that the responsibilities of the AP team, right? So this survey was done late in 2024, going into 2025. We have increased significantly. This is before a lot of the economic uncertainty and tariffs and all those things started taking place. So we already saw a 70% of those surveyed. We had over 250 responses, mainly based in the US across a diverse set of industries. So there was already some expectations that the responsibilities were going to increase and increase significantly. And I would say if we polled the same companies and people that took the survey, those numbers would probably be even higher, and the increase significantly would be rising as well. And then even before the volatility took place, we saw that there was 50% of companies that reported in 2025 that AP, the strategic role of AP, would be increasing at their companies. So again, I mentioned earlier that it's an exciting time to be in accounts payable because the strategic role of AP is going to be increasing. And I want to mention, I'll probably touch on this later. What I have seen over the past 6 years, I think I've done the survey, I have not seen people saying they're going to reduce their accounts payable staff. So even with the AI, I am not seeing that a lot of AP jobs are going to be replaced. It's more about teaching our folks how to leverage the time that they have. So you have more time not wasted on non-value add activities. So companies are realizing that accounts payable can deliver value in helping manage those relationships with the suppliers and helping Treasury optimize the working capital as well. So just know, don't be afraid of technology. So our responsibilities increase. That's good, right? Strategic value, however, right, we still need to get things done. So let's take a look at invoices process and complexity. So we're also starting to see more invoices processed and processing complexity. And processing complexity, it was already going to go up, but as we start to see changes in regulations, I know there's a lot of changes that have taken place over in Europe. So if you have suppliers overseas, that complexity is a little bit, usually a little bit higher than in general those in the U.S. And the more countries you go into, the more complexity that you might see. So we say it's a good news. We got to see the strategic table. We have more invoices to process. Now, what we need to do is look at, okay, what resources do we have internally to take advantage of these opportunities? So we want to be efficient, take on those invoices process, complexity, all the uncertainty, and also at the same time help deliver strategic value. So we need to look at what resources do we have, right? What resources do we need, and then how do we get there? And having some survey results can often help you get access to the resources that you might need. So it might be, hey, we have no plans to invest in AP automation or related technology. And then we'll say, oh, well, look at this. There's a lot of momentum that I've seen on surveys. And then the surveys can help you define that value proposition. And your folks at MHE can do that as well. So many times, if you're not already in the game of AP automation at your company, the business case almost makes itself, and it really often just starts with taking more control over those payment types and timing in that visibility in the business case. It often makes itself. And then when I've done survey, I've seen a lot of companies that use more than one AP automation solution. And so even if you're already using a solution or solutions, it's still a good time to always benchmark and level set, right? The functionality, what you're being promised, the commitment of your partner to customer success. And so I would encourage you to do that as well. You want a robust solution. They partner with you and look at it might not be that they have all the AI bells and whistles, yes, yet, but it's more important that they are going to get there. And if they develop it, how do they develop it? So what is their commitment to you in reaching your needs? And also being able to offer the opportunity for you to grow into that solution, right? As your business gets more complex, or is your software provider going to be able to help you in terms of that functionality, so you are not causing business disruption caused by uncertainty, but also through acquisitions. And also on the supplier front, you may need to, or you may have already started looking at changing your supply chain, moving into different countries. And so you want to have a system that facilitates that the efficiency of AP as you go into different countries with more complexity as well. So this is an interesting question. I like this. So I asked folks to share what issue, if resolved, would have the biggest impact on AP efficiency. And what we see is communication from suppliers, asymmetry of information, access to supplier activity. So to me, this all makes sense. And the good news is, if you look at all those issues, all of them, you can start to see that technology, right, is going to be able to really impact these issues. Where you stand depends on where you sit, but I think all of these are incredibly important. Documents and communication from supplier, asymmetry of information is important, can really help with that. And also just the system that you're using. So do you have all that information in one place? Can you give your suppliers access so you have access to the same communication that facilitates more effective communication? And then if you have visibility into the activities, then you can start to see trends with suppliers, whether there's issues or not. How do we make sure those issues don't happen month over month? How do we resolve the issues? What's our efficiency there? And then the access to supplier activity. Again, it's hard to manage a relationship if you don't have access to the activity. So someone's on the phone with you trying to explain to you something and you don't even have access to the supplier activity. So those who communicate with suppliers should have that information available to them. And then the systems part is very important. The systems in general just don't cut it. I mean, if you look at all those together, if when I look at it, I'm say, well, the reason that a lot of these things are happening is probably related to the technology that you use, and it's not all blame on Excel. It can be Excel and ERPs, but there's a lot of room for improvement, even if you're using an ERP. ERPs in some manner. I look at solutions as MHC as supercharging your ERPs to deliver strategic value from AP. So you do me a favor. Let's go ahead and launch our first polling question, if you would, Haley. So I'm just trying to level set a little bit. asking you to share the role of accounts payable at your company. Just kind of going back to the initial survey questions that I asked in the past. So is it purely transactional? Are you a supplier of data and reports that inform decision making? Are you occasional advisor to the CFO? Are you a key advisor on the strategic matters with the CFO? I would appreciate if everyone would just take a couple moments here in order to just click on the button and go ahead and answer the polling question for us. We'll have a few more polling questions. I like to use polling questions to make sure that everyone is engaged, but also to add some more context and level set right where you are at in terms of those attending, so I can tailor my content a little bit more and spend more time in those areas based on where you are in terms of certain areas, given the polling question activity. So let's go ahead and, if you would, just go ahead and just close the poll. And can you close the poll and can you share the results? All right, thank you so much. So we've got an awful lot, 67% purely transactional. So CFO, right, is definitely, well, the good news is that if you invest right in the right solution, you are going to have more time to deliver strategic value. And also, if you have that more time, part of it is you have to be able to communicate that with impact. So part of this is, if you're purely transitional, it can be an information process where, okay, I need to inform my manager, I need to inform the AP manager, maybe it's a controller, maybe it's a CFO. Where we are right now is transactional. If we had better systems, if we had visibility, these are things that we could do. We could take more control over the payments. If we get folks off checks, this would be the value. We could work more with Treasury. We can control when the payments are made. So hopefully this gives you some great conversational material to have, to incentivize those conversations and be in the know and say, a lot of other AP teams are going here, and this is the value of really investing in AP, whether it's in terms of people, more people, training the people, or the technology side, professional development opportunities. So thank you so much for doing that for me. Appreciate that. So again, let's just dive a little bit deeper. As Haley mentioned, you'll get a copy of the slides after the webinar is over. So I know there's a lot of content in here, and that's part of that. It's by design by me, because I like to give people enough information that they want to go back to. So they want to share the slides with their team, that they want to share the webinar recording with their teams, and maybe with the CFO or the controller, right? So it all starts with visibility to put you in the right mindset. I always tell folks, you can have a conversation, someone's saying you're not efficient, and you can say, I can't manage what I can't see. Not quite that directly, but that's what I would do. And blind spots create process inefficiencies, right? And sometimes it's like, yeah, you can say, yeah, I know that, but this makes you think, and it really allows you to communicate some of the challenges that you're having, right? And understand them and say, even if you believe asymmetry of information between AP staff and suppliers damages the supplier relationship, you can go and verify that. I'm sure it probably exists, but just think about it, right? In AP, talk to your staff, right? Look at the communications, talk to procurement, and see see the issues that they're having with suppliers, and you'll start to see those root causes. And then asymmetry of information amongst AP staff, in addition to causing damage to relationships, which impacts the bottom line, it just wastes time. And then what happens when all your AP staff doing is wasting time? Well, they're not going to be happy, and they're probably going to want to move to another organization. So if your company is efficient, you have good relationships with the suppliers, you have the right technology, you are going to be able to attract and retain, right, the AP talent that you need to succeed in our world of increasing uncertainty. And then visibility allows the company in general, AP and Treasury, to make educated decisions about existing discounts. I've been doing a lot of survey, and a lot of companies really don't even know if they like the percentage of what discounts do we have, are we taking them? And then so there's a lot of money that's left on the table there. So we want to make sure we're making educated decisions about those existing discounts. And it also, excuse me, allows us to explore discount opportunities as well. As I mentioned, if we're in a good cash position and we know our suppliers are facing a lot of uncertainty, they are going to be more open than ever for discount opportunities. If you have a good opportunity cost of capital, low opportunity cost of capital, it almost always makes sense to explore those discount opportunities. And then also have to mention, we have to be able to take those opportunities, right? So we have to be efficient enough. So if we had like maybe 210 net 30 or yeah, 210 net 30, we have to be able to get that payment right out and process, right? No, 210. I'm rusty. 2% for 10, net 30, right? So you get a 2% discount if you pay within 10 days. So you have to be able to pay within 10 days, right? You have to be able to get that invoice in, process, approve, boom, boom, get the payment set up, get Treasury to get it out the door. So we need to make sure that we can get those payments made. And that also says why we have to collaborate with Treasury. Hey, we have these discounts. Oh, we only have wires 2 days a week. Is there any way that we could have some flexibility there so we can take advantage of these discounts, which makes us all look good? So let's just talk about internal collaboration a little bit. This is a big inherent barrier for a lot of AP teams, and so I just want to share some survey results, get you to think about it, maybe look in the mirror, ask people, does your AP team work in silos? And what we saw is well over 57%, almost 60%. Well, let's put it this way. Uh, let's see, agree or strongly agree, we've got 37%. Then we got another, so only 30% of the folks could disagree or strongly disagree that their team works in silos. So, especially in today's world, there's no need for your team to work in silos. It may just be part of your culture, it may be your technology, but what you'll see oftentimes is this framework. My AP my AP value is at this level. I want to get from that value to a higher level. Okay, that looks like Mount Everest. Well, what happens if we take away some of the inherent barriers like silos, right? Oh, then that mountain kind of gets a lot easier to climb. So I asked folks, what's the biggest reason for AP silos? And I've seen this across all areas of cash management. Well, there's not really a good reason for it, right? Let's look at no reason, 24%, lack of communication, right? No incentive to collaborate. So we look there, right? And so we've got 60% there that's just the culture. So there needs to be a culture of collaboration. So first we need to say, okay, let's look at all the players here. Are there silos between different areas? This is internally, we'll talk about with procurement and treasury in a little bit. So you look at that, and that's pretty scary. But then you look at technology. So, oh, okay, we change the culture, right? We get the right technology, and then those reasons are going to go away. When the silos go away, AP is more efficient, and we offer more strategic value. All right, can you go ahead and launch our second polling question before we start talking about supplier relationships? Just curious, don't worry, I won't tell on you. This is a confident you're not, it's an anonymous poll uh, right now, so I can't see who says what. How would you characterize the current overall state of your company's relationships with suppliers? Would you say it's ideal, you communicate and collaborate? Maybe it's good, you could do better. Maybe it's decent, you need to do better. Not good and terrible. So, and what I'll do is we'll take a look at these results and then we'll compare those to the survey results from the survey that I mentioned earlier, which again has over 250 responses. So we'll go ahead and take a peek there. So let's go ahead and leave the polling question up for just another 5 or 10 seconds. Again, I sincerely appreciate it if you would take the time to answer the polling question. If you have any questions for us about the content or anything else AP related, please go ahead and drop those in the comment area. And if we don't have time during the webinar today, I'll reach out to you. We'll have someone from MHC reach out to you as well to address those questions. So let's go ahead and close the polling question, please. Can you go ahead and share the results? All right. All right. So we've got uh good, but we can do better, right? So hopefully we are going to give you an incentive to do better, and you already know that. We're going to give you some advice for how to do that. And I think we've already started going down that path, right? Just because what we've seen is that we have to create the inherent barriers to supplier relationship success, asymmetry of informations, right? A tone of information, tone of the communication that we have, the types of payments that we're making, and then the timing. Are we collaborating on both of those fronts? So if we look at the survey results, right, we had good, we can do better, which is 52%. So we were a lot higher. We had a little bit smaller sample size on our webinar today, but it's just a way, it's just a good way. A lot of these survey questions are to take a look in the mirror, ask these questions. Maybe you ask this question to procurement. What do you think? What do you think our supplier relationships are? Anyone that interacts with suppliers, it might be a good question to ask, and then ask them how to assess it. But then also have each of those parties identify what is the biggest issue that we have. What are the root causes? Then we can start to collect those and see if it's a trend, or maybe you're not comfortable with that. Okay, maybe you're not the AP manager. What I then say, okay, why don't you go to your whoever your boss is, AP manager, controller, CFO? It's a good way to have a conversation with them. Wow, I was just on this webinar. I didn't realize the impact of collaboration with suppliers. I'm just curious if we can maybe we can identify ways to improve the way we collaborate with suppliers. I know myself, I spend a lot of time on the phone with suppliers. We have the same issues because we just don't have the same information. So I'm just trying to see if we can get a sense of the issues that we have. And if we're not there yet, is there a possibility for us to just take a look at some solutions that are out there and see how they can resolve some of the issues that we're having? So interesting to compare those results to what we saw in our survey with our attendees. So thank you for answering the questions. And then I just wanted to look at, right, deeper dive as far as what the issues are and the root causes. So it always surprises me on the survey results. It's not necessarily the timing of the payment. So these look familiar to you, I'm sure. Information needed to process an invoice, that's back and forth on the information on an invoice, or you request the same information from suppliers, right? And then you look at the root causes. Guess what, right? We've already seen these in previous survey results, but look at asymmetry of information, and we manage AP in silos, just to pick out a few of those. There we go, 47%. The good news is when you look at the root causes of suppliers, you look at the root causes of what we see in terms of silos. If we have the right culture and we have the right technology, we can start to see that we can start to get at the root causes of the supplier issues. And then if we have the visibility, as we have an issue, we can start to put a reason code with those. We can start to see some trends. Are we seeing the same trends from the same suppliers, the same industries, maybe the same person who is dealing with our suppliers, and we can start to look to really dive in on corrective actions. So let's talk about navigating. I call the payment dance with suppliers. And it's really important. I would say a lot of times when companies are set in their ways, they are not doing a dance. They are just standing still and letting things continue. So as you well know, a lot of times when you stay there and don't change things, see things just get worse, and there is lost opportunity. So you can also state your business case is this is the cost to our business if we keep doing it this way. So if we keep using only checks, it's going to continue to cost us $100,000 a month if we keep doing it the same way. If we don't work with our suppliers to maybe change them to electronic payments. If we don't take discounts, if we don't, this is the cost, right? That's more of the fear factor. And then the other story is we're going to impact the bottom line. If you're talking to the CFO, say, if we do this, we're going to impact the bottom line. And one of the great things about payments is more and more efficient is it's like Christmas. I'm going to save us compared to what we're doing now, $100,000 a month forever to the bottom line. That is incredibly powerful. Now, I love Treasury and AR, but if you can say that cost savings. I can guarantee you that this, because the costs aren't going to change. We are going to save the company this much money going forward, and you'll see it. And CFO, you'll have to tell them how great your AP team is. And guess what? When the CFO sees the AP team is having that big impact on the bottom line, guess what? AP is going to be looked as more of a just a purely transactional function. So we look at how to choose suppliers. Just think about it yourself, right? Based on the history, they've always paid. That's pretty common, been common for a long time. Here's what I like: collaborate with them and let them choose. The manner most cost effective for us. I can see that. And we try and make all suppliers accept card payments. I don't recommend that strategy in and of itself. You can damage those relationships. First, you need to understand what is the most cost effective type for you, right? So if you haven't done this, had this conversation, it'd be good idea, and I know MHC can help you do this. Just estimate, right, the cost for writing a check versus a wire, or not wire, ACH, right? Electronic payment, and you will be amazed of what that difference is. And so making educated decisions, and then it's like, okay, we've got these people on checks. All right, let's figure out how we can communicate with them, the value, and let's get them on electronic payments. And then you might want to set a goal, right? Okay, we're going to get this many suppliers on board to change. So something to think about. And then the preferred way to pay suppliers, we still have checks, 26%. My friends who aren't in America, they always tease me. You guys be doing checks in America. US is not going to go away. And that is part of the reason. Preferred way to pay suppliers. And then also on the other side, preferred ways to be paid by a lot of suppliers is checks. Part of that reason is because of their remittance information. So if we're able to get our suppliers that remittance information, all of a sudden they're going to be like, okay, yeah, I don't want to check. I don't want the lockbox. I don't want all that good stuff. As I mentioned earlier, in order to make strategic decisions, you have to be tracking your payment type. So you should definitely make sure that your company is tracking how you make payments and when you make payments, and then more importantly, why. And then percentage of electronic payments, what we're seeing is it's increasing significantly, and increase. So it's still increasing. So it's good to see we still have some momentum there, but we still have some room to grow, because look, we still have 23% increasing significantly. So we've had this big push to electronic payments for a long time. So there's still a lot of momentum and a lot of companies that can do better. Happy to talk to anyone about the business case of optimizing your payments mix there as well. So let's talk about some resources to deliver strategic value from AP, right? So you can look at where you're at, where you want to be, and say, how do I incentivize my manager and our company to invest more in resources that we need to deliver strategic value at our organization. So look at the drivers of AP success. I mentioned we'll talk about some team dynamics. So look at this. So we look at, were we going to decrease the number of AP staff going in 2025? Only 4% said they were. That's not the whole economy, right? Only matters if it's you in some sense, but 4%, 39% add. And then what about, so we can change our folks, or we can empower our folks to be more valuable. 41% said they're going to increase professional development opportunities. So if you are in the right company with the right mindset that you want to learn, it's incredible opportunity for you to upskill. And then you can not only go as far as you want into accounts payable, but you will be investing in communication skills, collaboration skills, AI skills, technology skills, vendor relationship management, and those translate anywhere across any organization, whether you're talking about going up controller, CFO, or whether you want to move out, maybe you want to start your own business. Now you have the skills to be successful in wherever your career takes you. And then just take a look at the skills they're looking to upgrade. So we look at data analytics, right? Cash management. That's the importance of collaboration there. And then I'd like these to be higher, but you'll see the importance here to some degree. Communication skills, business partnering, and written communication skills. So if you're an AP team leader, it's very important that you invest in those skills and don't just rely on AR for those skills. These are skills that need to be taught and included in those communication skills. is listening. So if you've never attended a webinar on listening, I've got some. If you want to reach out to me as well, it's incredibly powerful. So we got the team. So what about on the technology front? So first, it was just interesting to me how many places leverage multiple AP solutions. 42% said yes. So this survey had they're very tech, I would say, high across the tech adoption evolution terms, but that they still invest, they still expected to invest in more. So in your company, if your company is not, if you haven't invested in AP automation, if you aren't even looking at it, you are definitely falling behind the curve in terms of what's being done across companies of all sizes in the AP space. And if you stay in the same space, like I said, AP done wrong can be a competitive disadvantage as well. So it can really hurt your company on many fronts. So let's talk some about the role of technology, specifically in AP success. Let's just go ahead and pop the polling question up. Maybe should have asked this earlier. Now we're going to dive into technology. Where is your company at in terms of AP automation? Been doing it over a year. Maybe you started in last year. Maybe you're just in the discovery phase. Maybe you're vetting solutions or you have no plans and you see no benefits at this time. So I appreciate everyone's consideration in answering the polling question. Let's go ahead and just give you guys another 10 or 15 seconds or so. I still have some content that I'd like to share with you. And depending on questions, I'd like to get us done before the top of the hour. So let's go ahead and give you guys another 5 seconds. All right, please go ahead and close the poll and let's take a quick peek at what we got there. So, all right, so you've been doing it over a year. So if you fall in that bucket, I hope that you are continually looking at the value that you're getting at in terms of investing in a solution, looking at your partnership. Do they invest in your customer success? Where are they going as far as their roadmap is concerned? And is it just time for you to look at another solution if you're not happy there? Started within the past 12 months. Hopefully you are on the right path. Ask yourself the same questions. You're in the discovery phase. I would encourage you to really take a look at what that business case is for your company. Make sure that you truly understand all the potential dimensions of value out there. So it's important in those vetting as well. So thank you very much for sharing that bit of information. And so this is the ROI of AP automation. This is a bottom line impact. So if you're looking to talk and make that business case, you're going to have to build consensus if you're looking to invest in AP automation. And also if you, even if you're vetting and looking at solutions, or maybe you have a solution for a while and you're looking to change, you're going to have to justify that. So this is what you want to look for in your solutions. You want visibility into all AP process and communication. You want to look at where you're at. Does it help you minimize your manual process? Does it minimize friction in your approval workflows, which can internally go a lot of places, right? It can go from procurement, it can go internally, it can go to Treasury, it can go to CFO, it can any place that approval can create a bottleneck. Does it allow you to help optimize your payment type mix, provide that information, right? We want to invest in supplier relationships. Does that solution help us in visibility and being a better partner to our suppliers? Do we facilitate collaboration with Treasury? I've talked about this a lot. Payment types and types and timing, but also forecasting your cash movements. And what we want to do and what we want technology to help us do is get control of payment, timing, and types. In addition to being efficient, and I've been remiss in not saying we need to make sure that our payments are secure. So we need to be looking at our payment risk exposures, and investing in AP automation absolutely mitigates our payment risk exposures, which are going up, especially with all things AI. All the fraudsters have that information as well. So just some slides I like from my friends at MHC. It just really shows you all the different areas and touch points, right? Just to really, if you want to look at the slides afterwards, invoice automation, what does it do? More invoices with fewer touch points and less time managing exceptions. So a lot of that is allowing you to avoid having the same conversations, uh, fixing the same information as well. And then it allows you to have that visibility and outstanding invoices. Maybe you can share that as well. So it just it saves you a lot of time wasted on non-value add activities. We have payment automation. It lowers the cost, right? You can get fewer payment errors. It helps you manage your payment risk exposures, and it's really important in today's opportunity to build those relationships. You can improve visibility into the payment status, right? So they know when they can expect to see that payment, and then the document automation is where we have seen, right, a lot of friction, and this can start with supplier onboarding, tax documents, all that good stuff, but it helps us. uh, I mentioned a little bit the ease of compliance, and then we want consistency across communication. So that was a real high level. I'm going through these kind of quickly. The good news is I know MHC would be happy to dive into these in more detail with you if you want to have a conversation with them after the webinar. And then, as I talked about earlier, we may be having to looking at different places in our supply chain. We may need a bit more visibility into our supply chain. So there's an awful lot of opportunities for bottlenecks and improvement in bottlenecks based on better managing and automating your documentation. And then, of course, we have tax compliance as well. I mentioned that those regulations are changing, especially in Europe. There's new regulations that have been adopted. So all these things are important. So all these subpoints, as you look at all these different maybe screenshots we're looking at, all of these subpoints are part of that value proposition to investing in the right AP automation solution. Okay, will you do me a favor? Go ahead and launch our final polling question, and then I'll wrap things up with some success recommendations, some specific items that you can take away. So sincerely appreciate your cooperation in just answering the last polling questions. I touched on a lot of things at a very high level. You'll notice I didn't touch much on technology because MHC shares my commitment to thought leadership. So if you really want to get a better understanding of how technology can impact the strategic value that you deliver from the AP department at your company, I would recommend that you have a conversation with MHC and potentially let them do a custom demo for you so you can really see what that value is for your organization. So I appreciate your consideration answering the polling question. Why don't you go ahead and leave that up for another 5 seconds or so? Then we'll go ahead and I'll just wrap things up with my recommendations. Obviously, no need to share that one. Okay, you can go ahead and just close the poll if you would. You want to take a deep dive into your entire P2P process. As I mentioned, you need a continuous commitment to improvement. We want to invest in streamlining all approvals that drive your process, focus on communication and collaboration internally with suppliers as well, and ensure that your team has the data and systems necessary to calculate and analyze data. And we talked about the importance of getting those reports to the right people and collaborating with them on what they need. If you're looking to invest in AP automation, whether you have it or not, you're looking into it, ensure that your company understands the benefits, right? You want, right? What are all the dimensions of the business case? Pay attention to the right technology partner as well. And then if you've already invested, make sure that your company understands and you are measuring and communicating the benefits that you realize. Set benchmarks for the ROI, can conduct routine interviews, solicit feedback internally, and look to your partners to help you in defining and communicating those results with impact. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for their valuable time. If you have any questions, please go ahead and reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. It's Ernie Humphrey or my friends in MHC. So with that, I'll hand the floor back over to Haley for some closing comments.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ernie, for such a great session today. And that wraps up today's webinar. Thank you all for attending. Like I said, you will be receiving an email with the link to the recorded webinar. So if you'd like to revisit the content, you can do so. Don't forget to please fill out the survey so we can continue to improve and keep providing valuable webinars to you all. I also wanted to quickly mention that if you're an MHC customer, you can earn a $50 gift card this month for sharing your experience on G2. You can visit g2.com, search for MHC, and leave a review to earn this promotion. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.